All right. Well, we mentioned baseball first because my Chicago Cubs, Mr. Sox fan over there is a little jealous that the Cubs are still the best team in baseball as I record this podcast.
You lost two to the
three.
Nationals.
It was a very exciting series.
It was.
We don't have to dive into that series because it'll be a forgotten memory.
You did almost get no hit by Scherzer. Luckily,
how many times has that happened to the Cubs?
Yeah,
though?
Luckily Addison hit a bomb in the fifth inning.
They were getting no hit by Brandon Finnegan earlier in the year, and they ended up winning that game.
And then
too.
I think Russell hit a homer to break that.
Addison Russell's clutch as hell. If you look at his average with runners in scoring position, it's up over like 340.
Hey, my White Sox, man, they got a superstar shortstop in the making, in Tim Anderson.
Russell's better. Well, we're not talking White Sox today
right now, yeah, but not
Mr. Sean Anderson, because the Chicago Cubs just made a roster move, and I know there have been a flurry of roster moves, but another young top prospect is up, and a lot of people have been waiting a while this move to happen. But Willson Contreras, a prospect catcher developed in the minor leagues with the Chicago Cubs, is finally coming up. And there's a lot to talk about here because it develops a conversation of whether or not they're going to, because they're riddled with injuries right now. Mm-hmm. Tommy Listella's hurt. Jorge Soler's hurt.
Schwarber obviously got hurt.
Schwarber's out for the year.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is with Soler and Listella, they have roster spots. So when they come back up, they're going to have to make moves. And I mentioned this because Albert Almora was called up and they traded for Chris Coghlan. Mm-hmm. So now you have Contreras, who assumes to be on the roster for a long time, because if he wasn't, then why would they call him up? Albert Almora has been absolutely killing it since being recalled. And Chris Coghlan, quite frankly, he legit has the worst WAR among all of major league players who qualify for that stat. So, there's a lot of things that the Cubs can do. I'm curious to hear your opinion.
Well, obviously, I mean, there's rumors with Soler that he might be moved to the Yankees for possibly Andrew Miller. I mean, those are obviously out there, and you were talking that Montero's obviously struggling at the plate. So, I mean, obviously, you want to see what Montero might be able to do. Maybe you want to move him. I look at that though, and I mean, I see three catchers is not a necessity for any team. I mean, you have David Ross, you have Montero, and you have now you have Contreras coming up. So maybe you send back Contreras down. That frees up a roster space there because you are calling him up. But I mean, the kid's still young and he still has minor league options, so you could send him back down. Mora, I mean, the way he's producing, I don't think you can call him down at all unless he like starts to fall off the table. Then you could call him down. But looking at his performance so far, I mean, you want to see him probably take more walks and probably show a little more power. But I mean, still batting 353 is I mean, stupid for a kid that young. So I look at your guys' roster and see who you can send down, who you can move around. And I mean, I don't really see anyone who's kind of hurting this team that much. Right. I mean, you might be able to pull someone out of the bullpen, but then again, you might be hurting your bullpen if you're doing that. So I'm not entirely sure where the Cubs should go. I mean, Soler, maybe you don't need him up here. Maybe, I mean, looking at it, it's just really tough for me to find a guy who's saying, this guy can go.
For me too, is trying to understand what the Cubs can do with this roster situation, because they value each man on the 25-man roster as a guy that they want to maximize their roster, right? Mm-hmm. Every single position they want to have a solid contributor, because you don't want to look at the catcher's position and be like, oh, well, they can compensate for that lack of production with all the rest of them, because that's not what good teams do. And with you mentioned Montero, the problem with Montero is I think he's hurt. I think he's playing hurt, and he's getting older, sure, but you can tell he's not moving very well behind the plate, and that's concerning. And you mentioned David Ross, and with this situation, you mentioned keeping three catchers. I think with the Cubs, it's a very smart thing to do. Mm-hmm. I know it eats up a roster spot, but when you have David Ross as a key contributor to your team, you can't rely on him to play 60 games a year. So you're going to have to add a third catcher in that situation. Tim Fedorovich, who just got DFA'd in the wake of the Contreras call-up, that had to happen. But what I'm thinking is maybe Coghlan, it gets the short. I know they traded for him, but if Almora keeps producing the way he is, you can't send him back down.
Yeah.
And when Listella's healthy, you can't send him down because he's a valuable left-handed bat who could play anywhere in the infield. And
you're not moving Soler.
And Soler is going to have to take up a roster spot unless you trade him, like you mentioned. So there's a lot of things.
If you're trading him for a guy like Miller, he's going to take up a roster spot anyway. So you're just basically trading players, and they're still going to take up a roster spot.
You mentioned the Cubs and possible trade opportunities. I touched on this in my last podcast, and I do believe the Cubs, if there's going to be a move that they make, it has to be for a late inning reliever, preferably left-handed.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at their bullpen right now, I mean, the guy that I would say you can send down is probably Clayton Richard.
You could just DFA his
Yeah,
ass.
because I mean, he's not doing a lot. But then again, if you were looking for lefty relievers, I mean, it's him and Travis Wood. So I mean,
Travis Wood's been very, very good this year, though.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like you need lefties in that pen. So if you're going to be able to trade Soler, then you can obviously DFA Clayton Richard. So I mean, I look at guys like that, and I mean, it's hard to see where the Cubs would go or can really go. I mean, I think he's obviously a sore spot in that bullpen. If you're able to get a different lefty reliever, and then obviously that makes him expendable.
What's exciting about the Cubs and how awesome Cub fans are is they are leading in baseball in the All-Star voting in the infield.
It's disgusting.
No, not really. Because
it's disgusting.
Rizzo's at first, Zobrist at second, who's having a great season. Addison Russell's at short, Chris Bryant's at third, and Dexter Fowler's leading it in center field. But here's the thing. Now, you can argue Daniel Murphy is having a better season than Ben Zobrist.
That's
you can
what I was gonna
argue
say.
Brandon Crawford's having a better season than Addison Russell. But at the same time, the production that these guys are having during this season, right? A season full of expectations, coming off a 97-win season, and they're producing like they are this year. Like, it's just so incredible. Chris Bryant having a career year. I know Anthony Rizzo's numbers are down, but he's still slugging and getting on base. So,
see, the thing with Rizzo, I'm fine with Rizzo. I'm fine with Chris Bryant because Chris Bryant's one of the best third basemen. I would say, guys like
top three in the NL.
I would
for
say
sure.
Nolan Arenado deserves
Matt
a nod
Carpenter.
because I mean, I think Arenado's the best third baseman in the game right now. But I mean, I can understand because I mean, I understand why they're all top in voting because Chicago's the third largest media market in the world. And we saw
Pulling a Royals from last year.
The third largest media market in the United States, and they're pulling a Royals. They saw what the Royals can do. So with 12.1 million people voting, they're obviously going to get a lot of votes. But I mean, with like Addison Russell, I mean, Corey Seager can definitely be taking that shortstop spot. I mean, I think he's been playing better. Crawford, you named him. Villar in Milwaukee's been doing better.
He's great too.
Story's been, I mean, killing it. He's kind of fallen off lately, but I mean, all those guys have bigger wars than Russell right now. I mean, it's kind of disgusting. I understand what's going to happen. They're most likely going to. I mean, I just hope that Arrieta's not the starting pitcher. Give it to Kershaw. Get a Dodger out there.
It should be Clayton Kershaw. And if he hasn't, if people are still arguing that Kershaw isn't the best pitcher in the game,
You're an idiot.
Not necessarily an idiot because you can, I guess, make an argument for others. But Kershaw is just proving time and time again that you want to get the crown as the best in baseball. You got to go through him first. So
I'm not taking anything away from Arrieta. Arrieta's pitching the lights out. I mean,
but the longevity of what you're saying.
Arrieta's like fantastic.
Kershaw,
look at what Kershaw's done his whole career.
Yeah.
Arrieta bursting on the scene. He's been fantastic.
Three really good years for Arrieta, but Kershaw.
Look at Kershaw's WAR. I mean, 4.3. The closest next is Danny Salazar with 3.4. I mean, Kershaw kills it. I mean, 133 strikeouts is stupid. 1.58 ERA. I mean, Kershaw is the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, there's really no argument there. I would have to agree with you.
And he should be the starting pitcher. So I mean, we'll at least get one Cub that's not a starting pitcher. I think so. The infield's all Cubs. The catcher's not a Cub, right?
I voted for David Ross.
You voted for David Ross, but I don't think he's currently the leader. No. And then
I think it's Yachty.
I think there's one player in the outfield I think Fowler's in center.
Fowler's in center, yes.
Yeah, but outside of that, the corner outfield spots are not Cubs.
No, the Cubs, they definitely have plenty of all-stars. Definitely Rizzo's one. Pretty much everybody we named should be an all-star besides David Ross. But it would be awesome if they got him in. But, that probably won't happen. But I want to touch back on this whole Willson Contreras promotion. Because the importance of this call-up is for him to... Now, as we discuss catchers and the value of the catcher position, we're talking about more than what reaches the eye, right? You don't want to look at solid numbers because that just diminishes the value of the position. What is important, you see the communications between Ross and Montero, how they deal with their pitching staff, how they understand what to call in certain situations. And Miguel Montero, you want to see Willson Contreras, a 22-year-old catcher, come up, how old he is, and tell John Lackey, a guy who's been in the league for 15 plus years, be like, no, throw this pitch. And it's not going to happen. So right now what they're doing is developing a repertoire for Contreras to understand each pitcher's philosophy and whatever, just feel them out, get them as much playing time as you can by, say, September, and then he's ready for a playoffs.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, with catchers, you kind of want them being the captain of your team. I mean, that's why a lot of catchers who make the transition from player to manager do so well, is because they know how to manage a game and they know how to control a team. I mean, I look at a guy like A.J. Pierzynski. I mean, with his time in the White Sox, I mean, he was a beloved character in the locker room. He was a beloved character for Sox fans. He was hated by everyone else because, he was a true he was a true White Sox player. I mean, he was rooting for his team. He was controlling his team. And I look at a guy like A.J. and while he might not have been the best on the field in his later years, he was still a key contributor to the Sox team. And then going back to the Sox, I mean, a guy like Tyler Flowers, he was never able to get it going
great defensively.
At the plate. Yeah,
couldn't throw guys out, but
exactly.
he knew how to call a game.
He wasn't able to kind of get that same foot in the door with fans and with the pitching staff as well.
Overall, Flowers just wouldn't produce enough. But with the Cubs, it's Montero. You see Montero's value last year. Now it's diminished big time with the bat. He hasn't been hitting, and that's apparent. So what you were saying is I would not rule out a Miguel Montero trade. And if that happens, I think it benefits the Cubs.
And one thing that benefits the Cubs, too, is still having David Ross. Because David Ross is still a locker room leader there, and he'll be able to get Contreras fitting in with the pitching staff. I mean, it might not be a certain click right away, but with David Ross, I mean, people still respect him, and people will probably try to understand Contreras' mindset going in as just being a young player. And, I mean, if he can contribute with the bat...
he can still ball.
Yeah, I mean, if he can still do what he's doing in AAA, batting .350, 9 home runs, and 43 RBIs in AAA. I mean,
Willson
I think the
Contreras can, but David Ross, he's still got some juice left in that stick. And
it's impressive.
And now, is he going to be able to keep up the production he's put out since, to this point by the end of the season? Probably not. Almost assuredly not, because he's getting of age.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm so excited. Now, final thoughts as we move on to our next topic. Albert Almora needs to stay on this roster, and Willson Contreras needs to stay on this roster, and they both need to get as much playing time as possible because, you know what? The Cubs have some flexibility to do that, right? Mm-hmm. Because they have a 10-game division lead on the second-place Cardinals. So, hell yeah. Take advantage of that.
I mean, with
let
the Cubs,
these kids play.
Right now, they're 40-22. So, I mean, I think they need 57 more wins in, I think 102. I have my math's off, but 100 more games just to hit the 97 win mark that they hit last year.
They're projected 115 wins.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the Cubs are in good standing.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
I don't think you guys should be hitting the panic button after 2 losses against the Nationals.
All right. Thank you for that conversation, Sean. I know you hate talking about the Cubs because you're a Sox fan, but that's okay.